All right, here we go again. So, I guess his name Upmeyer, whatever it is. Okay, so his latest report says that they have deputized some people. So they're federally deputized to be immigration judges. So again, this also helps the immigrant. You read day in and day out that they're complaining about the length of time that they stay detained. If we create this process the way it's supposed to be, you're supposed to get serviced as quickly as possible so you don't stay in detention one day longer than you have to, whether you get released to the community or whether you are deported. But the idea is, you're not supposed to sit in the United States for 3 years or 4 years while waiting for, or even some people 20 years waiting for an adjudication. Well, because then the system's broken, because we need regular immigration where people can travel to an embassy and say, hey, look, I'm an agricultural worker. I worked a farm here in Guatemala for 10 years. I know what I'm doing. I want to go to the United States and work, and I have a job offer from this guy in Iowa to work on this farm. And then they give him a work visa or give her a work visa. And she departs and not deports, but departs and minds the bit, again, the idea of going through the system so the system works and then they understand the system. Again, there has to be an assimilation class. I mean, even military, when we go overseas, they give us assimilation classes. They tell us how we're supposed to act in a foreign nation. Same thing for people coming here. Let them know the laws will prosecute them. Let them know if they rape a woman, nobody's going to get them out of it. Or even rape a child or a boy or whatever it is. If they DUI, they're going to go to jail. They're going to get a big charge and they're going to be out of here. So again, once you put the system back in order, then everything will work even for the immigrant. Now, you may not get somebody that's going to run a racketeering entity for you. So, some Democrat politician can plug in and say, kill that person there. I don't like them. The Democrat politician takes the money and the boss says, the drug dealer says, to kill that person. I don't like them. And the whole system does whatever they want. There's a lot of racketeering going on, like I said, for years. So the sandbag thing, or whatever you're going to use, you should use. Again, there's ways to do it so you don't have to put it up against the tent, because you could just kind of put a sandbag. It looks to me like something was like a runoff. So the pad may have been poured with low spots so that the runoff would go a certain way, and that tent may have been in the middle of the runoff that was poured. I don't know. But, to tell you the truth, looking at it in the wind and the rain, I would definitely put some sort of thing there. There might be something besides sandbags that you can use to do that. I don't know. Because I think there's also, you could even use like some sort of water blivet system that would lay there and block the, it might be removable much easier and installable much easier. It's like a long thing with filled with water or some other thing. Same, maybe even filled with sand. I don't know. So you have it. So because it'll you can see, and then I noticed on the inside there's a bar. So if you were to lay, let's say you use sandbags. Let's just start with that, but you can use whatever you want. But if you use sandbags, you'll put sandbags on the outside, and it will press up against the tent, and then on the inside you'll put sandbags. So I would have both teams work together, an inside and an outside team laying the sandbags. And then you'll sandwich the material between the sandbags, but you'll also, or whatever you use, but there's like a bar at the bottom, I think. You'll weight down that bar with the sandbag, so it just adds to the stability and really give you, I would want the knee wall to be up a little bit, so, if you took sniper fire, again, all it takes is one lone wolf to get in there. or get somewhere. So if you were to, if you were to take some sort of sniper fire, or even somebody just, you have something to hide behind per se. Like you can't see outside the tent when you're inside of it. So you should have like, if everybody hits the ground, they should be okay, that kind of thing. Again, there's still ways to get hit, but especially if you're up against those sandbags, you should be fine. And then again, the lone wolf idea, somebody could be out there as spies or a spy group radicalizing somebody right now, or large numbers of people against that place. And then they just, get it to the point where they flip the trigger and the person runs off and tries to take out the place. You don't want to lose any more than you have to, or if anybody in reality. So again, there are several ways to look at that, monitor the people that are radicalizing online. So those barrier security things look like they work pretty good. I don't know. I mean, they prepared the video, but I can't believe they destroyed that expensive truck. I mean, they destroyed it. Imagine they could fix it, but boy, that's a $5 truck to just make that video. But they must make a lot of money. I guess it's costly. I mean, maybe expensive stuff. I don't know. It looks like they knew what they were doing. But I would put, I saw you had some sea vans there. I would keep some of those cargo containers on site and use them as just, kind of semi-protective rooms and stuff. Some hard, it's not hard-sided, but it's harder siding than tent. All right, so I'd keep them there. I'd probably build a supply room out of one of them, at least. And then you have what you do is you put a counter at the front. You can build it or buy it or whatever. So you put a counter at the front, and when people want to draw equipment, somebody opens it up, or they keep it open. I don't know how you want to do it. And you'd probably have a couple of them for different types of equipment. And then you could lock, it's lockable, but then you can also, you have a counter, somebody comes in, you issue them some equipment, specific to the mission or something like that. And then, you could, if you make it like the break area, put it in shade if you can, or some shade, or however you're going to do it. But you could, put something over top of it to give it shade too. But I guess it could get pretty hot. It's getting real hot in this. Oh well. Yeah, you got to figure it out. All right. I guess you could use tents, or you could put smaller sea vans inside tents. I don't know how you can do it. But it'd be great if you could use like a break area. Because number one, it's hard. It's hard sided. It's not inside the tent. You need some place outside that tent to flee to if you have to, real quick, and don't mount it on a fence. Just going through contingency plans. And again, you can use that to also store your equipment. I don't know if they're going to take breaks in there when it gets hot. And again, come November, it'll start cooling. Come late October, November, it'll start cooling. I mean, they're already, bashing it pretty bad. And then all it takes is some psychological operation to send some people over the deep end. But if it works, the idea is if you use it like a transportation center, or like a deportation center, and it works the way it's supposed to work, people won't stay there that long. So if you see a hurricane coming, you can reduce your population real quick. And if they go, oh, they only have 10 people there, well, it's because of the hurricane. As soon as the hurricane comes through, we're going to have a full amount within, a week again. Right? So you really don't have to evac, or the evac is actually deportation. Then you stop any in-flights. Right? So if you do have to evac, it's very few people. But, I don't think Naples is not traditionally. That's why it was really strange for the Fort Myers flood recently. Right. I guess Naples did flood also a little bit. That usually doesn't happen. For years upon years, Naples was not in the, the hurricane zone. That's kind of like east of Naples, I guess. So the system itself, if it's efficient, will evacuate people very quickly. Then you have a ton of military bases if you have to do something different. Yeah, people shouldn't have to stay in detention. Again, they're trying to do something, but your system's broken. Instead of beefing up the system, they just threw everybody out on the streets, and they spent 3-4 years on the streets, and people weren't vetted, weren't cleared to be on the street. So, although we have quality people in the United States that are working on these farms, if they don't want to self-deport and get to the standard that's being required, which is I find kind of stupid, but I understand the concept. We have people in Central America working on similar farms, and they're just as good, right? Or better in some cases. Yeah, bah, humbug. So I guess they want me to talk about. So I'm in the mine. I'm looking at Modi yesterday. I'm like, yeah, the Indians are, because, they talk about people all around the globe. LDS, they talk about people all around the globe. And, but the Hindus also, because Hindus are settling everywhere. Right. And, I sensed something in Modi's mind. And I kind of made a joke, and he kind of just laughed. Should everybody be Hindu? He's like, because that was where it was going. Look, our people are moving across the globe. Everybody will be Hindu or something. So it's building something up in his mind. I don't know if it was real or not, but I said something and he just laughed. It woke him up, Everybody will be what they'll be. Right. No, it's great stuff in Hindu. If you study it, you'll learn some things that God put there. I mean, God puts it where God puts it. Right? And there is monotheism in Hinduism. They just celebrate, the gods, which are angels. But there are people that do worship God. I'm not telling you that they don't exist. Well, it's interesting because in one sect, a deity is a god, but in another sect, it's the supreme God. So it's just like concepts more so than. So monotheism is more of a concept. Right? Again, Jesus said he wasn't God, so I'm not sure where the churches are with that. I never saw that so strong when I was in the church in the 90s. I think more people believed he was the Son of God. Now all of a sudden he becomes, God the Father, which doesn't make sense based upon what he's said over the years. We're going to take a hit on travel, that's for sure. But again, Some of these people may be coming here to pick up their bribe. I mean, it definitely wasn't working. Well, definitely a lot of people anti-LDS and things. Well, it's probably a better church to get in when you're younger because it really can help your life if you understand how to wire into it. Right. And can wire into it. Again, I'm not saying that people are blocking themselves. See, that's weird. Really weird. Yeah, well, no, it's out of control. I mean, sex crime and narcotics distribution and all that is just out of control, and sex trafficking and all that. And maybe they're into that. I don't know. Maybe they want that to continue and get larger. You got to slow down what you're bringing into your country because you can't police what's already here. Right. Yeah, the auto pen things like you're chasing after windmills on that one. Right. Wait a minute, I have this thing set up. Right? The Border Patrol Film Crew. Well, I don't have a problem with the tax. Right. 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 Because those are specialty. Right. Right. I don't think law enforcement pays it anyway. So. I don't know anybody else needs a suppressor and a barrel under 16 inches. Correct there. Without paying $200. I mean, come on. Some big security firm. Let them pay $200. And if they got a government contract, they may get out of it anyway. Right. They write it off. Trump, you're a weirdo. You're a weirdo, Trump. We're all weirdos, he said. I agree. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't know about that one. Well, I don't know. Well, that would rule out the I guess you're ruling out the African people because they're actually Jewish lineage, but they, is what they believe is, and most people believe it was sometime around Solomon. That's a long time ago. Yeah, that would really make you like kind of weirdo Zionists, like the Torah Judaism people say. Now, if somebody just converts to go to Israel, that's a different story. Maybe that's what you have going on. I don't know. I don't think you can prosecute that. I mean, you could say that they're interfering, but I don't know if it's prosecutable. Again, it's expectation of privacy kind of deal. Right. The same thing with the cameras. The question is whether they're using license plate readers. Because I knew that was probably being used by the cartels or something like that. What you got to do is set up a camera, like I told you before, somewhere, and not as accurate as the, probably the big name readers, but they got apps now that you can read plates and sense it to, I guess, a database or something. Well, because if the Christians actually played as big of bribes as the Islamic people, then they could preach. That's what it's all about. They extort them and they bribe them. See, look, she's shaking her head over here. Loomer is like weird. Because she makes everything like a big controversy. It's like, what? Everybody knew that 20 years ago. Go away. You didn't break anything. I broke the story. No, you didn't break the story. Everybody knew that 20 years ago when I said it. Right. Or 15 years ago. Actually. I'm going to take a quick break. Now, that's not a good look. It looks like a fat cat. I'm going to take a quick break here. I'll be back. Stay peaceful, praise God, and all to do, praise God.